Very good. Well, a big thank you, of course, to Landmark Homes. That's quite a contribution. So thank you very much, Sam. That's very generous. Well, if I could take a moment, I'd like to introduce our next speaker. We're very excited. Tell you a little bit about her. Premier Alison Redford has been actively involved in both provincial and national politics since the 1980s. She served as the senior policy advisor to the Right Honourable Joe Clark when he was Secretary of State for External Affairs and later worked in the Prime Minister's office. In Parliament, she was also the principal legislative advisor to the Secretary of State for External Affairs. Premier Redford articled at Rooney Prentice and then worked in a small partnership before opening her own law firm, all the while continuing with her interest in politics throughout the world in various capacities that included working as a technical advisor on constitutional and legal reform issues in Africa. In 2005, she was appointed by the Secretary General of the United Nations as one of 4 international election commissioners to administer Afghanistan's first parliamentary elections. She was elected MLA for the constituency of Calgary Elbow and named Minister of Justice and Attorney General in 2008. From there, she was elected leader of the Alberta Progressive Conservative Party and sworn in as Alberta's 14th Premier on October 7th, 2011. The CHBA-Calgary region proudly welcomes Alberta Premier Alison Redford.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for letting me join you tonight. This is a very important event, and it's a very important time of year. And for me to be able to be here with you to really share a perspective with respect to Alberta, especially the first week of January, is terribly important. You know, we come out of Christmas, and my experience in my own family, and I think a lot of people across this province, is that we travel to other parts of the country and other parts of the world. We spend a lot of time visiting with family and friends that are coming back to Alberta over the holidays, talk to an awful lot of people across the country. And I think what we know and understand is that we are very fortunate to live in Alberta. We are an economic driver for the country in many ways. The statistics with respect to the work that you do, with respect to the work that's done around home development and real estate sales, really is a leading indicator in terms of what our success has been in this province. But there's no doubt, and we all know this, that as we look forward at what 2013 will be, and I'm sure that you've heard this theme today, 2013 is going to be a tough year to navigate. And it's important for us all to know that as we move ahead as a province and we think about our future, we think about our role in Canada, we think about the choices that we need to make, and we contemplate some of the things that have changed in the last 3 or 4 months, that we have a conversation amongst ourselves as Albertans, not only as people from the Home Builders Association, but also as people that are mums and dads and brothers and sisters, people that are concerned about healthcare, concerned about education, and want to make sure that we can continue to have the quality of life that we've enjoyed in Alberta now for decades and for generations. And it's a conversation that we have to have because we all care so much about the future of our province. And because if we think about home building, it truly is an indicator for what comes next. It is a gauge of our economic health, and we must work together as valued partners in the conversation with respect to how we can continue to ensure that your industry succeeds, not only, as I said, for your benefit as part of being a corporate and business leaders in our province, but also because the work that you do contributes so much to the quality of life of families that are new to our province and families that have lived here for generations. Now, I know that the association has worked very closely with us in consulting on the home warranty legislation that we passed this last session in the legislature, and I want to thank you for helping us and guiding us in bringing peace of mind to so many people. In fact, the association's Calgary branch has been doing that for 67 years by maintaining the highest professional standards, and through your commitment to your foundation, which we've already talked about tonight, providing shelter and support to those in need, to vulnerable Albertans. You do so much and have done so much to make Alberta a wonderful place to live. And that's one of the reasons why tens of thousands of people come here each year, dreaming of better lives and new beginnings. And for many, those dreams do include a home of their own in a beautiful community. And the Home Builders Association is responsible for making those dreams a reality. And in that regard, Alberta is doing very well by any measure. This year just past recorded the most housing starts in the province since 2007, before the recession struck. Overall, Alberta housing starts for the first 10 months of 2012 were up by 34% over 2011. And this is at the same time as new home construction in the rest of Canada sank to its lowest level in 12 months, in November. And I'm here tonight to tell you that our government will do everything it can to protect that state of affairs. We'll work hard to create the policy environment that our economy needs to thrive, and we'll build bridges at home and abroad to secure Alberta's long-term prosperity. And most importantly, right now, I believe, we will manage the province's finances with care and with respect so that you can keep doing what you do best, which is to bring Albertans' dreams to life. Now, despite all of the uncertainty that's affecting the global economy, we know that Alberta has always been resilient. We welcomed over 95,000 new arrivals to our province last year. Now, that's enough to make up another Grand Prairie. Used to be another Red Deer, but Red Deer is growing so quickly that that doesn't even count anymore. And those people brought with them plenty of investment, businesses, and jobs. They came here to make a living, and they came here to build a life. And our economy expanded by roughly 3.7% in 2012, almost double what the rest of Canada and the US experienced. That helped us to lead the country in everything, from growth in retail sales to job creation to the lowest unemployment rate in the country, which sits at 4.5%. And Alberta is entering 2013 with some powerful momentum behind us. But that momentum is carrying us toward new challenges and obstacles that we'll have to confront. A unique challenge that we have in Alberta compared to the rest of the country. The things that we will overcome because Alberta is a robust and an adaptable place and a full, confident, and capable people. We live in communities where we care about each other. We understand growth. We understand that every day we face the challenge of needing to ensure that we're investing in the infrastructure that's going to allow families to continue to have the quality of life that we have had for generations. And some of the challenges that we face this year stem from the fact that our economy is export-oriented and commodity-driven, leaving us vulnerable to many forces, quite recently even, that have been beyond our control. For many of our trading partners, recovery from the recession has not been as quick as we would have liked, and our friends and our neighbors are struggling with high debt, with low growth, and with stubborn unemployment. This political gridlock may send some, particularly south of us, back into recession. And all of that discourages investment and reduces demand from the United States to Europe to Asia. Now, oil and gas prices, as we know, are also down due to a glut in US markets, and that will affect our bottom line. The price of Alberta's oil has fallen to more than $30 below the price for benchmark WTI, which of course impacts our revenue streams. And with the US projected to become the world's biggest oil producer by 2020, even language like energy sustainability in the United States are only conversations that we've been having for the past 6 months. We need to ensure that we're finding new outlets for our energy, because becoming the world's biggest oil producer by 2020 means that we are going to have very competitive neighbors. Now, our government is responding to every one of these issues. We have a strong economy, and we'll make the right fiscal choices, and we'll lead Alberta in weathering whatever storms may come. Now, Alberta's finances present our biggest challenges, and thanks to those lower than expected commodity prices, we're going to have to manage very carefully and make some tough choices through 2013. Energy royalties make up almost 30% of our budget. And this government knows that we will have tough decisions ahead of us when it comes to spending. Alberta's success has always depended on fiscal sustainability and careful and disciplined management of our spending and our revenues. If markets aren't convinced that we're dealing responsibly with the public purse, then that pessimism could affect our credit rating, our economy, and ultimately, Albertans' quality of life. And we can't risk that. We won't let that happen. We're developing a fiscal framework that will address these issues and allow us to continue to build our province on a go-forward basis. Government asked Albertans how they want to see their tax dollars managed. And we've been involved in a very robust discussion with industry associations and with individual Albertans for the past 9 months. And we're using those responses to design rules that will determine how we manage our public finances. That framework begins with a disciplined approach to budgets. We will do everything in our power to meet our commitment to a balanced budget. Members of Cabinet have been instructed to restrain their spending and to examine every dollar spent. This complements the innovative approach that we'd already introduced last year with respect to results-based budgeting. Each year, we've already committed to scrutinizing government operations to ensure that we're delivering the services that Albertans want today in 2013 and expect, but in the most cost-effective way possible, because taxpayers deserve no less. And the review process isn't limited to members of the government. Albertans have joined MLAs on the challenge panels that ensure that review is as thorough and comprehensive as possible. They are asking hard questions from both inside government and outside government, pushing government to account for the way that it does business. And we'll make the results of these reviews public so that everyone can see what government is doing with taxpayers' money. We'll put an end to the automatic growth of budgets, and we won't shy away from hard choices and cuts where necessary. One of the things that people expect from an effective government and have been able to rely on from our progressive conservative governments is a pragmatic approach to fiscal planning. This government won't let ideology get in the way when it comes to balancing priorities, because we are Canada's economic engine. And economic circumstances are dictating that we make some very difficult decisions to defend our position as the country's best destination for business and investment. So we will. However, the truth is that Alberta needs new infrastructure and effective, far-reaching services, even in periods of slower growth. And for those of us who've lived through Alberta's growth in the past 20 years, we know that. In 20 more years, our population will have grown by more than 1 million, which is like adding almost another city the size of Calgary. But as I said before, those Albertans won't bring the infrastructure that they use every day. They don't bring schools for their kids, they don't bring roads, and they don't bring hospitals. They put more stress on what we already have. So we must plan ahead, and we must prepare the ground if we are to maintain our quality of life and our economic competitiveness. And at the same time, even as our world changes, a responsible government must ensure that it's still able to meet the goals that Albertans have set for us. And that's why my government will make those tough calls on short-term spending, just as we will continue to invest for the long term in Alberta's future. As part of our discussions on the fiscal framework, we talked to people across the province to learn about their priorities, and overwhelmingly they told us education, healthcare, support for families, for communities, and for vulnerable people. They said they recognized the need for new infrastructure, and they recognized the need for it now, not in 20 and 30 years, to ensure that our province keeps thriving, because they understand that waiting means a higher cost down the road. My government is fulfilling and will fulfill Alberta's expectations. We are turning to capital markets to raise the funds necessary to twin Highway 63, which is vital for future oil sands development. And we continue to push ahead with changes to essential services, like the introduction of family care clinics, because Albertans deserve and understand that we need to redesign and develop easier access to primary care. And we won't turn our back on the neediest and the most vulnerable, because we can't forget for a moment that there are kids in foster care and that there are single mothers learning new skills and disabled Albertans that are looking for independence, who can contribute to the growth of this economy and to our society. Some of them require supports so that they can make the most of their opportunities, the opportunities that our province offers. Because Alberta is opportunity. That's the belief that made us what we are today, and it's why people continue to come to our province. It's the belief that will keep us strong no matter what we face. As we look to the future of this province, and other parts of the country look to Alberta, they are looking to us to set a direction. Part of the work that we've done with respect to that is to build an energy sector that allows us to create further opportunity across the country and around the world. The only way to keep Alberta's energy output high is to get our oil to new markets. And that means we have to continue to talk about a Canadian energy strategy, because it matters to Alberta and it matters to Canada. Other parts of this country are rich in energy, and they will continue to grow and develop great economic opportunities. But in November, when Jim Flaherty said that the federal government had overestimated their projected revenue from resource revenue by $6 billion, that didn't only affect Alberta, that affected Canadians across the country. And so we must work together to build infrastructure across jurisdictions and in partnership, both to the east and to the west, to ensure that Canada can continue to be an energy superpower. Now, we've had the opportunity to talk to my colleagues across the province in the past 3 months, whether they're in Newfoundland, in Quebec, in New Brunswick, and yes, even in British Columbia, to ensure that we're sharing technical information, our experience with respect to regulatory structures, and the opportunities for economic development that come from energy infrastructure, energy development, and pipeline, not only for Alberta, but for the Canadian economy as a whole. Hundreds of thousands of jobs, hundreds of billions of dollars in revenues, and the future of our public services, our very way of life, are what is at stake. And in 2013, I will do everything that I can to ensure that Alberta reaches its full potential as a safe, sustainable, and reliable energy producer through the Canadian energy strategy. Tough decisions bring great change, and in this time next year, I think we will have faced not only challenges, but identified opportunities that will allow us to talk about what goals we wanted to accomplish and did accomplish this year. I believe fundamentally that change comes maybe only once a generation. And the challenge that we have in 2013 is to make the choices that we need to have so that in 20 years, with 1 million more people, larger communities, a strong energy economy, and more educated Albertans, we will be able to look back to 2013 and know that we fundamentally changed the direction of our province. So I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for everything that you do to build your businesses, to build your economy, and to support families and communities. I enjoyed the opportunity to speak with you tonight, and I wish you well for 2013. Good night.
Thank you very much, Premier Redford. That was great, and I appreciate that you took the time to come out here knowing that you're not feeling 100%, so that means a lot. I'm sure everybody appreciates that. Our association's also made a donation to the Calgary Home Builders Foundation Camp Horizon project that you heard about earlier in your honor as a thank you, and I have that right here for you. I'll pass it.